Hello and welcome to a special Star Wars lore episode of Nostalgia Quest with your host, Czar Peppers. As I'm sure you can already see, we're playing some Battlefront 2 today, mainly because I wanted to cover some things that aren't in the new one, and it wasn't out yet when I was doing my recordings for this, but that's okay because this gives us a chance to look at the old before we take a look at the new one, so it might be interesting. Today I wanted to get into some ship lore. The main thing that captivated me about Star Wars when I was a kid. There was just something about the design of these ships that made them feel so personable and real, kind of like your first car. I remember when I was 6 or 7, I went out for Halloween dressed as a pilot from Rogue Squadron. Costume actually turned out pretty well too. I absolutely love the detail behind the Star Wars universe. Each ship has its own manufacturer with its own individual design philosophies, and that's reflected in the various ships they produce. So I've picked out a few of my favorite Starfighters from the Star Wars universe to dig into and nerd out over. I'll probably do another video for capital ships sometime in the future, so hit that like button if you'd like to see that sooner than later. By the way, exploring all this Star Wars lore is an exciting new experience for me too, so I welcome all of you to get involved and share any other interesting lore you have about the topic. Either that or some corrections if they prove necessary. I'm going to start off with the one and only, the legendary T-65 X-Wing. The Starfighter was produced by the Incon Corporation, or Incom for short, based on the planet of Frisia, located in the Core Worlds region. It served as the primary all-purpose fighter for the Rebel Alliance and its successors, and we have all seen the newer variants in the Episode 7 trailers. It was equipped with shields, hyperdrive, R2 unit for repairs and navigation, and some proton torpedoes. The introduction of the X-Wing improved the odds for successful missions during Rebel raids into Imperial space quite greatly. The Rebels attained them when Ramus and Tilly's led an operation to Incom Corporation headquarters on Frisia. Those at Incom were sympathetic to the Rebel Alliance to restore the Republic and were willing to cooperate, supplying them with the X-Wing Starfighters. They were originally intended for use by the Empire, but the entire company defected to the Alliance. They soon gained a favorable reputation when the X-Wing piloted by Luke Skywalker destroyed the first Death Star, becoming known as a starfighter that destroyed the Death Star. With a good pilot, they were on near equal terms with the Empire's high-performance TIE fighters, the TIE Interceptor to be specific. Due to the constant upgrades of the design, it remained one of the galaxy's best multi-role fighters. It was Rogue Squadron's favored fighter, only using other types of ships for highly specialized missions, such as the Y-Wing for its ion cannon, or ion bombs or whatever, which also happens to be probably my personal favorite. Moving on to our next fighter, we get to see the evolution of the fighters in the Star Wars universe, as it is apparent from its appearance that the ARC-170 that you're seeing here was an early ancestor of the T-65 X-Wing, also made by the Incom Corp. In cooperation with Subpro Corporation on this ship, it served with the Republic Navy during the Clone Wars. Co-pilot Reese Dermun once said of the fighter, "We can lose the V-Wings, but those ARCs have Class 1.5 hyperdrives. They'll follow us to hell and back." This was during the Separatist raid on Coruscant. Like the X-Wing, it featured the S-foils, that being the wings that move into an open position during high-stress situations. They did this to address overheating issues that resulted from the close proximity of the engines and the weapon systems. They held within them a number of radiators to disperse the heat. Unlike other Republic ships produced during this period that were made to be primarily small and nimble at the cost of heavy weapons, shields, and hyperdrives, ships like the Eta-2 Actis, which we'll take a look at later on, but unlike those, the ARC-170 was large, rugged, and capable of long-range travel. This allowed it to take on the role of recon and scouting rather well, with its powerful sensors and jammers mixed with the Class 1.5 hyperdrive, the ARC excelled at this role. It was also suited for raids deep in enemy territory. But the primary reason I wanted to feature this ship is it really shows the thought that goes into this universe that they've created, and seeing the evolution of something as simple as a Starfighter is just something that you don't really see in other sci-fi television shows. Maybe Star Trek, if any. Now this brings us on to our signature baddie. Everyone knows that signature scream of the TIE Fighter, reminiscent of the Jericho siren on the German Ju-87 dive bombers used during the Second World War, a tactic to strike terror in their enemy. You could sort of think of the TIE LN as the T-34 of the Empire. They were mass-produced, cheap to make, and they were almost disposable to the Empire. Pilots would often dread their cramped cockpit. Another thing it may have held in common with the T-34. To continue with the Soviet analogies, the LNs were produced as part of the Empire's 5-year plan for the industrialization of the Outer Rim. Manufactured by Sienar Fleet Systems, they were partly based on the Eta-2 interceptor that we'll be taking a look at next. Rather ironic that a fighter primarily used by the Jedi would be the basis for the Empire's Starfighter force. Despite their basic construction, they were favored for their versatility, acting as fighters and scouts. They also possessed the ability to hover in place and even fly sideways, an ability that wasn't commonplace for fighters of the time. There were numerous variants produced, which I'll probably go into in a specific video looking at the TIE Fighter in the future, but to name a few would be the TIE Interceptor, the TIE Bombers, and the special version that Darth Vader used. Now we move on to another personal favorite of mine. It's sort of funny, I remember when the prequels came out, I was always disappointed that I didn't see any of the cool ships I was used to seeing in Star Wars. Well, that among other things. I mean, I know it was based in an earlier period and everything, but I was 10 when episode came out and I just wanted to see some X-Wings. However, now that they've been out for a while, there are some ships throughout the movies and the Clone Wars animated series that have grown on me, and this is one of them. The Eta-2 Actis-class Interceptor, or more commonly known as the Jedi Starfighter, was used by the Republic during the Clone Wars. In contrast to the ARC-170, it was a small, nimble fighter, sacrificing protection and firepower for maneuverability and speed. It was also too small for a hyperdrive and required hyperspace transport rigs for faster-than-light travel, as you see in the Clone Wars, or Attack of the Clones. And the Clone Wars too, I suppose. However, like the ARC-170, it was also possessed S-foils for heat dispersion. They were only lightly armored though, and were exposed to laser fire and buzz droids, often resulting in damage to the all-important S-foils. Its successor, the TIE Fighters, would carry the radiators and fixed panels instead. Some Jedi did voice their concern for its lack of shields, and later models would include them with improved armor as well, but due to their small size, it allowed the Ventador-class Star Destroyer to carry a complement of 192 Eta-2 interceptors. While some Jedi pressed for more heavily armed variants, other Jedi would strip theirs down for even faster performance, often removing the heavy sensors and flight instruments because of, the whole Force thing, but most Jedi use the factory standard variants. I've quite a bit of fun of doing these Star Wars lore episodes, and some people seem to like them so far, so why not give the people what they want, or person. At this point I would like to say thank you to all those who have begun to follow my channel due to medical things. I have a lot of spare time on my hands, and I thought that making these videos would be a good way to keep me busy. So, thanks to all of those who have subscribed so far. Your numbers may be small, but they are gradually growing. I hope that as I continue doing these videos, they will only improve in time. I like to try adding new elements and ideas to build upon what I've done so far, and I'll keep on doing that. So until next time, good night. I don't know why I say good night. I mean, you could be watching this in the middle of the afternoon, but, good night just feels right. Don't forget to like if you would like to see more. I have been sort of using the likes to determine video topic priority, but I want to know what you like and what you don't like. if I'm doing something stupid, I would always rather know rather than to avoid that, in the future. That said, until next time, good night.